Okay. All right. I'm live, and I'm gonna get my anchor going too. So of uh, there's reports of the MLS pulling away from DA, which is awesome. I saw that on Facebook, and it just couldn't make me any happier. You know, my top podcasts are my DA. You know, I have 4 or 5 different podcasts about DA, and they're like my top listen podcasts. Like dumb. Uh, DA is dumb, and I got a bunch. I actually just re-listened to them. They're my top podcasts because they're not only interesting, but they're hilarious because they're so true. It's an absolute joke organization. So, in Soccer America, posted 5 hours ago, U.S. Soccer Chief Sports Development Officer has confirmed that MLS clubs are considering pulling out of the development academy, which is awesome because there's zero development happening. Quote, "There's always a possibility," said Romain when asked whether U.S. Soccer may be faced with playing its 2019-20 season without MLS clubs participating in its DA, which was launched in 2007 for the nation's elite players. We're still talking with MLS. What's the point? Quote, "It's possible because we're not governing MLS. But the things we are really focused on is that alignment of the pathway. As you know, our landscape is quite fragmented, especially Arizona. It's really important for us to have that alignment. So when we think about player development, we think about, okay, maybe it's good to have a pro competition in the other clubs." End quote. Yeah, you think? There has to be any pathway. When it's about winning, MLS clubs, any professional organization is going to get that player. They're going to try to get that player. It doesn't have to be a DA player. There's no guaranteed pathway if you're a part of DA and you have a better chance. No, it's not. The article continues and says exactly how MLS would operate its youth competition outside of the DA is unclear, but its issue with the DA format include the widening gap of quality between MLS clubs and the DA restrictions on outside competition, such as international play. DA limits play against competition? Wow, shocker. DA hides from competition. They're not going to play some Hispanic team from California that can actually whoop on them 3-4-0. No way. You're not DA. You can't play us. How dare you try to play the DA with your Hispanic uniforms? How dare you try? They won't take that on. Last year, U.S. Soccer responded to complaints from the MLS clubs about traveling long distances to play against teams that don't offer meaningful competition. Oh, it's kind of like ODP. Oh, we're going to go to Spain. And then they go to Spain, spend $2,000 or $3,000, and then they report back, oh, we won 15-0. Oh, we won 17-0. Who are you playing? You can do that in Arizona. You didn't have to leave Arizona and go beat someone by 15. Joke. So last year, U.S. Soccer responded to complaints from the MLS clubs about traveling long distances to play against teams that don't offer meaningful competition. It decreased the number of DA games on the schedule and created free weekends for clubs to choose their own competitions, such as against foreign teams. The DA has also, for years, allowed MLS clubs to compete in the Generation Adidas Cup. Quote, "One of the things the MLS clubs really like to do is play against international opponents," said Romain, whoever that is. "And of course, that's a really good benchmark when you're talking about player development." Is it? No. That's not. Yes, you need to play high-level competition. But when you can't beat some Hispanic teams from California, how about take them out first? That's why we need competition. Competition for everything, not like who's allowed to play these teams. I mean, I remember going to Dallas Cup. We're the state champion from Arizona, and we played Taiwichi. We played a team from Costa Rica. We played West Ham, a youth team from West Ham. I mean, we played teams. We got murdered, but we played them. At least we knew where our development was. It was lacking. Then it continues on and says, we say, of course, we will look at the schedule and we'll give you the opportunities. It's the same when you're looking at the Generation Adidas Cup they organize. For some MLS clubs, the free weekend provided so far aren't enough to satisfy their quest to take international trips, or they fall during inconvenient times of the year. I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly. Romain says he can envision MLS continuing in the DA with a different format, which MLS clubs are giving more flexibility. But, quote, there are, of course, limitations, said Romain. One cannot say all 23 clubs give your schedule and we will adapt. That's impossible because you cannot build a competition on that. An example of adjusting the DA schedule to please MLS clubs would be to allow within the DA structure more games between MLS clubs. You can imagine Philadelphia and Red Bulls, Romain said, and they say, okay, not only 2, but 4 of these games are really valuable for them when you're looking at player development. And that's what we want to do, focus on player development, which makes sense, reducing the amount of games, but not everyone plays, and that's a different problem. So reduce the amount of time main players play. The ones that you want to develop, the ones that are funding the operation is the ones on the bench. They don't play it all. They play like 15 minutes if they're lucky. Depends how much mommy and daddy are paying the coach and the club to allow even that. Because of the investment required to travel in the country as large as the U.S., it would be difficult to imagine MLS creating its own type of youth league similar to Mexico Liga MX, in which U17 and U20s travel with the first team and play in the National Youth League that mirrors the first team competition. More likely, MLS academies could design a combination of national, local, international competition for the youth teams and perhaps combine with USL youth programs. Now, that makes most sense. MLS teams, USL teams, they should do their own. They all should have their own identity about development because that's competition. Do you not understand? Competition dictates everything. If the MLS or the Galaxy, which they already kind of do, they already have their LA Galaxy 2, and they have the LA Galaxy Academy. If they can control their own development, hire their own people, they compete. And when you have that competition versus DA, a U.S. soccer structured organization, which we're just going to do it together, it doesn't work because you have few people competing because they're not competing. It just like we're part of DA, we get the funding to do it and we do it, but they're not really competing. They do the development competition, but that's not competition. That's why it needs to be separate. MLS teams, do your own development and compete, and then they'll think outside the box and create their own, and good things will happen. The article finishes saying this. Alternatives to MLS pulling all of its teams out of the DA include keeping its younger teams in the DA and MLS, creating its own competition for the older age groups. The DA, for its part, could propose a tiered format based on the quality of its clubs to place the MLS clubs that believe they're playing too many games against weaker competition. We are now in the process of having these conversations, said Romain. I'm butchering his name, I know it. Nothing has been decided yet. Of course nothing's been decided yet because money is going to get involved and dictate everything. Oh, DA will change. DA is not going to go away. It'll change its name to Super DA. That's what's going to happen. Something silly like that. Competition. Not just playing competition, but competition as far as development goes. If everyone competes on what they think development should be, and we try many concepts, then someone will emerge, and then they will copy it, like the Ajax system. Ajax had an unbelievable development program, and what happened? Ajax system got absorbed by Barcelona. They copied it. They reformulated it and made it their own. People steal information based on success. Let's do that. We need many ideas, many different approaches, not one U.S. soccer. We're going to do it this way. We're all going to do it. It's kind of like our education system. For the ones that support government-run education, you're special, you're crazy, And you can't do it that way if you're against vouchers. That's crazy, because you need competition, because competition, not saying it's good or bad or indifferent. There's good and bad in everything, but you have to have competition so people compete to get better. It's like Circle K. Circle K sucks. But QT came along, and guess what? Circle K is getting better. Why? Competition. Do you not realize that? Pay attention to the world, people. Competition, competition, competition. Minus government influence. And in the soccer world, the government influence is U.S. soccer. U.S. soccer, take your government influence BS out of here. Those are my thoughts today. Enjoy life, love life, and it's easier to love life if you listen to me. Peace.